Hey folks, this is Vint with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly review Siege Survival Gloria Victis. Gloria Victis meaning glory to the vanquished. This is a game that you can find on Steam for about $25, though there is a free-to-play demo that allows you to try it before you buy it. So in this game, you take on a small group of workers in this medieval city. And you are the backbone. You're just civilians. You don't actually, fight the main invading force. There's this, invading force that's trying to siege the castle, the city. And it's your job to keep your individual group alive while sending out shipments to the army so that they can keep going. Okay, so if I had to make any sort of comparisons here, I would compare this game mainly to This War of Mine, but it also has some hammer-ting elements. In This War of Mine, you take on the role of a small group of nobodies, civilians, and you build up the house during the day, and you go out at night and scavenge. Well, in this game, you're doing much the same thing. You're building up your immediate area within your castle walls with crafting stations. You're going to be crafting various supplies. Again, things are sometimes you'll be sending these things out to the army to keep them going, but also you're upgrading workstations, you're feeding animals, you're building rain collectors, and sleeping so that your people can rest. They've got basic needs that you have to manage. So like This War of Mine, during the day you are timed and you have to build stuff, and then at night you send one person out and the rest either sleep or scout, and you send them off and they go around the map sneakily, stealthily, and just click on points of interest to collect resources from that location. They have limited backpack space, so you can only bring so much back with you. Again, very much similar to This War of Mine. In This War of Mine, typically you would have to visit a location 4 or 5 times just to get everything from that location. Kind of similar here. Although, instead of it being, okay, you pick this house and you go there, in this game, you start off with a very limited area that you can explore, but using a shovel or possibly a torch to burn dead corpses, you'll be opening up new areas to the city. And the more you do that, however, the more the enemy patrols become pronounced. Like in your immediate area that you start in, there's no one to worry about. You can freely go around, just collect things, and then you go back before daylight hits. Well, as you, again, open up areas of the city, the patrols become worse, and you have to sort of stealthily move around and still harvest things in the process. And then, again, before morning hits, you have to make your way back to the city, lest you be caught out in the open by the invading force. So once you're back, sometimes events will pop up saying, oh, there was a major battle. The defenders held off the attackers, but one of your army got injured, or one of your people died, or one of the army people died, that kind of thing. Sometimes there will be like a dialogue choice every now and again, like if you're out exploring and you go into this building and you end up meeting someone, you can talk to them. It's like, would you like to help this person bury their son, or do you just want to take their axe and leave? It's one of those 3-paragraph, what do you want to do? Pick one of the two things, and then off you go. It's not a huge story thing. It's just these are little side dialogue choices that you can pick to just adjust your gameplay in some way, or to gain something immediate benefit. But yeah, the main gameplay loop is build up your little area during the day, your castle. How you do that, though, is important, because when you construct buildings, there's 2 areas. There's a safe zone and a non-safe zone, and the non-safe zone is way bigger. So you have to sort of pick and choose which things you want to put in your safe zone, which structures. And because every now and again during the day, sometimes the enemy will catapult your city, and on occasion stray bolts will enter, or stray boulders will enter your city and do damage to buildings that you have constructed in the non-safe zone. So yeah, like I was saying, gameplay loop. During the day, you craft things, you feed your people, you allow them to rest, feed animals. It's just, there's that. And then at night, you send people out. That's the typical gameplay loop, and that is very reminiscent of this war of mine. And again, it's like Hammerting in the sense that there's this background army system in play where you have to send out various things to them to keep their stats up. I think there's like food, there's water, there's arrows, there's weapons, melee weapons. You can send out like rocks or bricks to help them shore up their defenses. And these meters, depending on how high they are, will affect the outcome of these battles. So I like that. So it's like this war of mine, but with a medieval setting, but also with this background army thing going on where you're trying to defend the siege, but in a passive way. Personally, I like the game, but it's one of those games I feel like you either need to look up a guide to figure out, okay, what's the most efficient way to build up your immediate area. Like, what should I build first? What should I build next? What should I upgrade? Upgrading your workstations makes your recipes cheaper and unlocks new recipes that are more efficient. So, like, there's this, decision making with resource management. Okay, I've only got 10 wood. Do I upgrade this, or do I build this completely new structure that will allow me to do this? It's like, I'm sure at some point, if there isn't already, there's going to be some sort of meta guide out there that tells you exactly what you should do in what particular order to, win the game easiest. So if you don't want to look up such a guide, then you may be at this for a couple of attempts to figure out what the best method is, so that you can, again, get far enough in the game to where you end up surviving. I think there's like 30 days in all, and then I think there might be like a final battle or something like that. I would highly recommend, if you're new to the game, I went ahead and did the New Game Plus mode and just put everything on easy, just so I could, sort of mess around with the game. And so far, like, I haven't really had any issues. I'm still having issues feeding my people, but taking what I've learned from this war of mine, I only make them drink or eat when they're starving or really thirsty. I don't immediately feed them or drink and waste precious resources and risk them like topping off and then some of that resource going to waste. So I only feed my animals or my people when they're really hungry or really thirsty. And again, there is some trial and error and a learning curve here for new people. Like, okay, I need to feed my animals. What's the most efficient way to do that? There's fodder that I can make with eggs and herbs, but the game is telling me, do you want to craft fodder? This is a very inefficient way to do it. And I'm like, okay, fine, but what's the efficient way to do it? I don't know. So like there's a learning curve with this, in the sense that, okay, what's the most efficient way to do something? But I think if you play it a couple of times, eventually you'll figure it out. I recommend it. For $25, you can get a decent amount of playtime out of this. There are unlockable characters that you can unlock as you play. I have not seen any yet. I'm only on day like 15 or something like that. And I think I can only have up to 4 people in my city, and I've taken 4 people with me, so I'm a little concerned that even if I find these people, will I unlock them for future playthroughs, seeing as how my party is full? I don't know. So that's one thing to consider. There's also a scenario editor, but like I'm at a loss as to how to work it. But there is one in the game should you want to mess around. If you're the type of person that likes to spend hours figuring out editors, there is a scenario editor in the game that lets you mess with stuff, which is kind of cool. And again, if you don't want to mess with that, there are multiple scenarios to play. There's the basic story, for example. There's a quick start. There's the explorer mode, which is easier. And then there's some challenge modes. Like there's a survivalist where it's just one person that you're trying to, you start with one person, which is crazy. And then again, the custom scenarios that the community has made. The developer has opened up Steam Workshop support with this game, so you can create something and upload it to Workshop, and then other people can play it, or vice versa. You can try out other people's creations, which is really cool. So yeah, like with all of that in mind, I would recommend this game. Again, there's a couple of things that like I'm a little unsure about in terms of, how to most efficiently play this game. But I'm enjoying my experience with it. So I would say check out the demo at the very least. If you guys haven't already, subscribed to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.